Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to another Singerreise video podcast. My name is Jonathan Silvia, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us. As 2016 is drawing to a close, I've been thinking about how far we've already come with the Singerreise project. For example, this is episode number 17, and we've only been going for a few months. There's several of you that have watched every single video that's been put out there so far. And a few of you have even become patrons to help support Singerreise in the months to come. But for 2017 to be a smashing success, we do still need for there to be more patrons financially supporting Singerreise. If this is something that would interest you, check out patreon.com/Singerreise. And you can find out about all of the wonderful benefits that you get when you become a patron at Patreon. This is going to be the last official episode of the Singerreise video podcast for 2016. We do have a special little something prepared for our patrons. Sarah and I are going to just take a few days off to spend holiday time with each other and with family, and to finish up learning some music for a bit. But there will be a new video released near the end of the first week of January, so make sure to come back and look for it. In this episode, we're going to take a look at Rückblick, which is number 8 in the Winterreise cycle. That's right, we are officially 1/3 the way through Winterreise. It's pretty upbeat and lively and a lot of fun, so it's a good way to end the year. Rückblick also provides a sort of finale for the first half of a concert that Ryan Beatty and I are doing in about 1 month's time. If you're new to the Singerreise podcast, you may not have heard that Winterreise is going to be performed in its entirety on January 29th, 2017 at Bellevue Presbyterian Church. Ryan Beatty and I are going to be performing the whole thing with 12 songs each, doing a few songs back and forth. If you're in the area, if you live here, come by and check it out. Okay, enough announcements for a bit. Let's talk about Rückblick. Rückblick is the title, and it means to glance back. In it, our wanderer is thinking back to the time that he first arrived in the town. To me, it feels like the poetry almost is written kind of backwards. We start in the modern day, or in the present, and then we are progressively making our way back into the town, into the very start of the story where the wanderer first sees the town and meets the maiden. We start the piece in a dead run, and by run in this case, I mean that the wanderer is literally pounding the ground with his feet on his way out of town. In fact, he's pounding the ground so hard that his feet are getting a little bit on the warm side, even though he's running through ice and snow. He's trying to get to the point where he can no longer see any of the spires of the town's houses. Here at the beginning, it seems like everything is against the wanderer. His foot seems to stumble on every stone that's in his path, and even the crows up in the trees are throwing snowballs at him and hurling chunks of ice that wind up hitting his hat. For the wanderer, it seems like the entire town has done a bit of a 180 on him. He accuses the town of its inconstancy, and as he is doing the accusing, he starts thinking back to when he first arrived. At that time, there were birds singing, and the linden trees were blooming. The little river, of course, was gurgling happily. And then there were those 2 maiden eyes that were staring out from a house. These 2 maiden eyes were, of course, the downfall of our wanderer. He ends the piece by saying that whenever that day comes back to his mind, he wishes that he could go back to that very moment and stand in that same place. For me, there's a few words in the text that seem to pop out. One pair of words is ich möchte, which means I would like. Throughout the piece, the wanderer keeps saying how he would like to do something, but not actually that he is doing something or that he actually can do something. For example, at the very ending of the piece, he says, möchte ich zurück wieder wanken, which basically means I would like to go back again. Now, ich möchte is a little bit different from ich will, which means I want. It puts in a little bit of ambiguity into the piece. Also, I love the image of crows throwing snowballs. Now, the text could have read that the crows were dropping ice and snow from the trees down onto the wanderer's hat. But instead it reads, Die Krähen warfen Bell und Schlossen, which I think more literally translates to, they were hurling snowballs and dropping chunks of ice. Side note, I also love that the Germans have a word for chunks of ice, Schlossen. It apparently also means hail. There's also a really neat picture of the town that develops, possibly clearer here in Rückblick than in any other song in the Winterreise cycle. It's postulated that the description of this town very closely matches the description of the town that our poet Wilhelm Müller grew up in. There's, for example, the little stream that goes through the river. There's also the linden trees. Most specifically, though, there are all of the little towers on the houses, and it's architecture specific to that one little town. Now, Winterreise is not an autobiographical account of Wilhelm Müller's experiences. His story ends quite a bit differently than the Wanderers, but even still, it's nice to have all of those descriptions in there. The musical setting of this piece really just describes the running that the wanderer is doing, the hard and fast steps that he's doing right at the beginning of the piece. And it kind of continues in this way pretty much throughout the entire thing. Of course, this means that it's a beast to play on the piano and that I have a wonderful wife. One other trick that he uses, though, is he alternates between minor and major. When we're stuck with the harsh reality of the current situation, we get this nasty chromatic minor key. But when we start thinking towards pleasanter thoughts of how the town used to be, then it switches into the major key, and back and forth. The running motif really only stops a couple of times. The first time it happens is at the end of the first section, where we have the first switch from minor into major. There in the text, we have a little bit of a change from a more descriptive text to a more thoughtful or pensive text. But even after the fermata, the running motif resumes. Just this time around, it's more legato and it's in a major key. The second pause in the running motif happens at the very end of the piece, where the text is vor ihrem Hause stille stehen, or in front of her house, standing quietly. Here, it's as if the wanderer has actually succeeded in going back in time and standing in front of the maiden's house, just staring quietly back into her eyes. And that's it for Rückblick. If you want to find out more about Winterreise or about the life of a working opera singer, check out our official website, singerreise.com, or our Facebook page, facebook.com/Singerreise, or this YouTube channel with its many episodes. Again, we do need a few more patrons to continue making videos into 2017. So if you could consider becoming a patron, check out patreon.com/Singerreise and check out all of the wonderful benefits that you get by supporting the Singerreise project. So again, Merry Christmas and enjoy Rückblick.
Hast du mich empfangen, du Stadt der Unbeständigkeit.